Reflections from Torch Trust, focusing on Christian faith and sight loss.
Hello and a warm welcome to Reflections from Torch Trust, the programme that focuses on faith and disability in today's world. I'm your host, Marilyn Baker, and today we're exploring how we connect with fitness, what it means for our well-being, independence and sense of community. We'll hear from Ines Higgins, whose journey in strength training is about more than just muscles, it's about empowerment, and Alison Evans, who proves that being part of a fitness community isn't just about physical activity, but also connection and inclusion. So, whether you're already active or just thinking about moving more, this episode is here to inspire and challenge you to rethink what fitness means. Now, Ines Higgins wasn't always a fitness enthusiast. Coming from a sporty family, she often felt pressured into participating in exercise when she'd rather be left alone. However, for the past few years, she's been embracing fitness, and weightlifting in particular. She spoke to producer Lynn Davis. Let's hear her story.
Can you tell us a little bit about who you are and your passion for fitness?
Yeah, hi, I'm Ines, originally from Germany, but I've been living in the UK for 16 years now. Registered blind, and yes, in the last few years, have become very passionate about fitness and, in particular, weight fitness. My cardio is probably not as good, but mainly sort of weights.
How did your fitness journey get started? Is fitness something you've always been into, or is it something that's come to your life more recently?
I wish I was the most lazy person. My father was always trying to get me doing something. 'Cause my entire family were like sporty, and I was a real lazy person. I'd rather sit and listen to people talking and just dream about and read. I did not want to do anything fitness. I was quite overweight for quite a while. And then when I had a gastric bypass, which on reflection, I wish I had found weight training sooner and wouldn't need the gastric bypass. But I started running initially, but then that phase didn't last very long. And interestingly, my sort of fitness or gym journey really started off when COVID was like, it was kind of between lockdowns. And me and my husband wanted to find a personal trainer. And I I seemed to be doing a lot of the research for me and my husband. So I looked online in our gym at the time, found our current PT, who's amazing, and we met her, and that's really how it started. And we even worked out through the lockdown, so she came to us, loading her car full of plates and bars and all sorts of fun things, and worked out with us, all windows and doors open, because of COVID. And yeah, that's really how it started. It was quite a turbulent start.
Prior to that, is weight something that you had checked out before, or was it a bit of a revelation to you?
It was definitely a revelation. I mean, I did do some of the sort of resistance machines, but barbells was never really something that I did. I never expected to love it as much as I ended up loving it, especially because even our personal trainer was told, "Oh, you shouldn't be using free weights with blind people. It's not safe." And then COVID happened, lockdown happened, and well, you couldn't bring a machine into your house, could you? So free weights it was, and let's just say we proved that person wrong.
Do you think that there was ever any barriers in your mind, or perhaps people had said things like that about the free weights that made you think, well, fitness isn't for blind people?
Not so much the free weight itself. I think it's just navigating the gym and finding the weights yourself and putting them on could potentially be a challenge. And that is something that I have yet to kind of tackle. Right now, the only way we are getting free weights into our training is with our PT. twice a week. And that's great and that's worth it. And I do have some dumbbells in our house as well that I can use at home. So I'm trying my best to keep it, to do it as much as possible. I think the challenge is not so much doing free weights. The challenge is to do it, yeah, independently. Sort of just envious of other people being able to walk into a gym, walking up to a barbell, loading it themselves, and then lifting, which is something that I just haven't been able to figure out yet.
What would you say to other blind people who are perhaps thinking of trying weights? Because usually it's sports like showdown and goalball and these things that we are being encouraged to do as blind people. And they're great sports, but they're just not for everybody. And maybe someone is hearing your interview now and they're just thinking, I want to have a go at lifting weights.
I'm going to come at it from two angles, if that's okay. Personal trainers are not for everyone. They're not accessible for everyone. Even for me, I had to have a couple of breaks. Just financially, I couldn't always afford it. Weights are my therapy, so not being able to do it for a while was really, really tough. But yes, I think if you can afford a PT, even if you just start once a week and then just give it a go. They won't push you into something that you're not ready for. We started really slow. We only started deadlifting, I think it was like a month or two down the line when she knew us and when we felt more confident with like the basics. And obviously just communicate, say, this is what I want to do. And I actually find because I'm blind, I feel when I'm doing it wrong. I have real good body awareness, meaning if my form isn't correct, I notice it before she even corrects me. So you might even be surprised. And then if you can only afford once a week, you can just chat to the PT and say, right, can you just give me a couple of things I could do at home with maybe a couple of dumbbells or kettlebell or both, or even a resistance band. So you can sort of start with a hybrid gym and home workout plan. That's how we started. And even now, if she can't make it or we can't make it, I ask her, right, give me a really tough workout that I can do with my dumbbells. And she will. If you can't afford a PT, it's kind of a bit harder, but there is an app called Exercise. So like exercise with access. And that has some good descriptions and audio about how to do certain exercises. But you obviously you're not getting the benefit of being corrected and being sort of instructed and the kind of plan of what you call progressive overload. So knowing, okay, we've done this many reps last week, we're going to do more reps this week or more weights this week.
And also, you are a woman of faith. Has
Yes.
faith ever come into your fitness in any way?
It's a difficult question for me because yes, I think I certainly see the fitness as worship to the point where the culture in the gym can be quite difficult in that you get quite a few swear words, and unfortunately, I'm not immune to sometimes getting a bit hyped and swearing myself. But for the most part, I try to avoid that just because I feel like I want to honor God with everything that I do, and that includes my speech while I'm working out and the banter that I've got with my PT. And the other thing, yeah, I do actually invite God into my workout and say, right, especially like today, for example, I had a busy work day. I hadn't slept well the night before. And it's like, okay, God, please help me. Give me the strength to get through this in a way that honors you and in a way that improves me even though I don't feel like it. So yeah, it's in those ways that I try to include God in my fitness and that it can be a form of worship. And just even when I've had the worst day in my life, coming out of the gym, my mind is clearer and I'm a lot more of a happier person.
Parkrun is a popular pastime that takes place Saturdays at 9 a.m. in communities all around the world. It's a free, welcoming event where people of all abilities walk, jog or run a 5K course. Parkrun is especially popular amongst blind and partially sighted participants, thanks to the many volunteers who are happy to guide and support. Let's hear from Alison Evans, who is blind and not just a keen park runner, but also a dedicated volunteer.
Tell me how you got into park runs.
I'd never been a runner, never even thought about it. And then somebody I happened to know who was a runner told me that Parkrun were training people to be guide runners. And I said, oh, I wonder if there's anybody that would run with me. And that's how it started, really. And then they introduced me to Helen, who started running with me just around the streets locally. And then I think after a couple of months, she said to me, let's go and do our first park run. And that's where it started, really.
What had your fitness journey been before you started park runs?
I'd never really done, well, I'd always been somebody who walked. I went to the gym and used to run on the treadmill, but that was about it, really. Never sort of any other sort of outdoor exercise, really, or fitness stuff.
What was it like changing from running on a treadmill, which is a very controlled environment, to all of a sudden doing park runs or even running around the local streets?
Very different because, of course, suddenly you've got a different temperature if you're outside. You've got the different terrain, more people about. It's very safe on a treadmill. You're not going to hit people or worry about, tripping over. But I'd say it's much better outside. It's much nicer to be outside in the fresh air, running, chatting to someone while you're running along. Yeah, much nicer. And actually, the treadmill, although you can have intervals where you're going up and down and different levels and speeds, it's nothing like running outside.
No, of course. You mentioning chatting to people and meeting new people. Is that a big thing for parkrun then, that you get to meet? Because I've done a few parkruns myself, and I was really surprised at the community spirit that I saw at parkrun, and not just in one place, but everywhere, really, where I've been trying parkruns.
It is. I think you're right. There is a real sense of community. And when you join a park run, you belong to something. And everybody's so friendly and so encouraging. And I've made so many new friends through doing park run, and I do feel part of my local park run community.
But you eventually started volunteering, and I just got really curious actually when I heard that the first time. How do you volunteer if you're completely blind? Because you are completely blind.
I started, my volunteering was always doing the first timers briefing. Because we've got two courses at Peace Haven Park Run, a winter course and a summer course. And because I've done them countless times, I know them so well that actually I can deliver the first timers briefing, explain the course to people. I normally have somebody just with me pointing out the landmarks. But yeah, that's the thing I've always done. And then more recently, because I've had an injury, I thought I wanted to do something else because I couldn't run. So I have done part walking, I've done tail walking with the guide, but the other thing I've started to do more is barcode scanning, because again, you can do that with your mobile phone. The phone vibrates once people have scanned their barcode and their time token. So that's very achievable as a volunteer role. And the other one is giving out the finish tokens, of course, as long as it's made clear, which often it has been in the run director's briefing, that people need to make themselves known to me when they come up to collect a token, then obviously it's not a problem. And that's quite a successful role you can do as well.
Well, it seems like there's loads to get stuck in with then on the volunteer side of things. Would you say that you're more of a just runner now, or are you more into the volunteering side of parkrun?
More recently, it's been the volunteering because I haven't been able to run. But eventually, once I can get back running, which hopefully won't be too much longer, then I would mix it up definitely, because I do think it's vital for volunteer, because without the volunteers, these events wouldn't take place.
And a lot of blind and partially sighted people actually around the UK do park runs. Can you talk a little bit about what guide runners do, and why do you think so many people actually sign up to be guide runners around the country?
Yeah, I don't know what, I mean, I certainly at my park run, there seems to be this, oh, I'd like to run with you, or I'd like to run with you. It's almost a bit like a novelty factor. But I think probably people that offer to run with me locally maybe feel quite safe because they know I know the route and I know the layout and I know when the surface changes underfoot. And I think generally some people feel it's a volunteer role, it's giving something back. And I think maybe, once they see somebody running with a guide, they feel maybe it's something they'd like to do. I know some people can be very nervous, but I think once you do it, as long as the person you're guiding is fairly confident, then I think you're okay. And not all my guides have actually had guide running training either. In fact, very few have.
What would you say to someone who's blind and partially sighted who want to check out park run, who might not even feel fit enough to run?
I'd say you don't have to run. Just start by walking because, park run does say run, but you don't have to run. And all park runs now encourage people to park walk. So that's a good way of starting. And if you want to go along, just contact your local park run and see if there's anybody who'd even start off by just guiding you by walking. I mean, I've been to other park runs and not known anybody, and they've said to me, "Oh, if you want to come again, give us a shout. We'll always find somebody to go around with you." So I think, just contact your local park run and see what support is out there.
You heard park runner and volunteer Alison Evans talking to Lynn Davies. I must say, I'm not so keen on walking or running really, but I do think it's important to strengthen muscles. So I've got an exercise bike and I also like swimming and I want to do more of that in the future. I'm sorry to say we're out of time for this week, but we'll be back next week with more stories and reflections in a special Mother's Day edition. And don't forget, if you're blind or partially sighted and would like to learn more about any of the services provided by Torch, including the Hope for All project, signing up for the Lent course, our Torch Together holidays, our accessible books and resources, or our other groups, our client services team would be very happy to speak with you. The number to call for information and for song requests is 01858 438 260. That number again, 01858 438 260. Or you can email info@torchtrust.org. You can also find us on social media. Just search for Torch Trust on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and YouTube. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Reflections. So until next week, from me, Marilyn and everyone on the Reflections team, goodbye and God bless.
You've been listening to Reflections from Torch Trust.